we're back again with another quick video. We had a lot of people buying these Molotow One4Alls over the holidays, and a lot of first-time users, and so I just want to kind of go over some of the basic details of what these markers are for those who are unfamiliar or new to these particular markers. These are a acrylic-based marker. They're water-based, so they are non-toxic. They don't smell. You can use them indoors. They will not affect other paint pens since they are water-based, so they're non-reactive, which is great. So you can go over oil-based markers, acrylic, other materials, and it won't bleed through or interact with it and cause it to shift colors. That's really one of the basic selling points of these markers, is they're quite versatile. You can use them on a variety of surfaces. So anyways, here's the basic lineup. What they are the 100 series, which are the 127 markers, or their empty variant, the 111. The second would be the 200 series, which is like the 227HS right here, or the 211 EM. And then there's the 300 series. For example, here's the 327HS. If you were to buy empty, that'd be a 311. And then the 627, which if you were to buy empty would be the 611. There are two other markers I don't have in my hand, but it's just kind of superfluous, so I didn't include them. That would be the 211 Mini and the 427 Mini, which are the same exact head as these two markers, the 627 and the 227. Only difference is the ink capacity is smaller. And there are also some variants of the 127 markers, which I'll highlight right now. All right, so we have the two standard 127 markers that you're most likely to come in contact with. You have the standard 127HS, which features a 2mm felt tip, a little slightly rounded felt tip. The other one is the 127 crossover. This is a newer version of the marker. They both feature the same exact marker body. The only difference is the nib. This has a 1.5mm hard nylon nib with ultra-fine capillaries in it. So this allows the ink to flow through nice and finely without, making too thick of a line. So there's another version of this marker variant, the 127 type markers, okay? These aren't sold as a marker anymore, but you can still buy the nibs for them. It might be hard to see with this camera, but this is a 1mm extra fine nib marker. That nib is found on the Molotow Graph X marker as well too. These are an alcohol-based marker utilizing the same 127 body that you see there. So keep in mind that this ink formula is slightly different than what's in the One4Alls. It's alcohol-based as opposed to the water-based acrylic. That said, they work perfectly fine together, and if you're looking for a really nice silver liner pen, then pick one of these up. These are really dope. This is by far my favorite silver liner pen. This is basic marker maintenance, so you definitely need to know this. It's water-based, so you can easily clean the nib. So when you're done with this, just take a wet sponge and just wipe the nib off, and you'll have a much longer life of your nib. Another thing you can do too, which is recommended in the Molotov catalog, if you don't have one of these, call us when you order. We'll put one in your box. Molotov recommends putting a slightly wet sponge inside the cap of this particular marker. What that will do is keep it nice and moist and keep it from drying out. Last a lot longer. So I've been using these markers for about probably like 2 years since they've come out, and I've been really happy with the opacity, the ability to mix it with other markers, and just its overall usability. It's been a fantastic marker for me. And then so I also brought this little sketchbook that I did. It's for some local kid. This kid D, we'll just call him D for lack of better names. He sent a sketchbook in, asked me to do a little drawing for him. And before we go any further, don't send me your sketchbook, please. I have way too many people sending me sketchbooks. So we also wanted to highlight some of the uses and intermixability with the different types of markers, paints, things that we have here for the One4All markers. The first thing you'll probably want to pick up alongside of your One4All marker is a nice set of graphic markers. And in this particular drawing, I used a combination of markers out of these sets right here. The Molotow Basic Sketcher Character Kit, the Molotow Basic Sketcher Green Kit, and the Molotow Basic Sketcher Pastel Kit. As you notice, might be hard to see in this video, these are all kind of lighter colors. The basic primary colors are just way too opaque. So then once you lay down a layer of blue or a layer of red, it's kind of hard to intermingle any of those other colors with it. So So let's kind of go into a little basic detail on how I do this. So when I drew out this piece, first thing I did obviously is I did like a pencil sketch of it. The next thing I do is I start working on the fill, and then you can see I kind of have these layers of pinks, oranges, baby blues, some peach colors in there, even a little bit of brown. And what I did is I just kind of slowly built up the layers and layers, and it created like this, you know, this depth. I actually outlined it first with the One4All marker, and then when I was going back doing the fill, I slightly touch it with the alcohol marker, and the alcohol marker will activate it because it's a reactive marker, as opposed to the other way where the One4All won't react the other markers. So I went ahead and just kind of slightly touched the outline with the alcohol marker, and what it did is it dropped a little bit of that darker brown into it to kind of give it a little bit more depth. And then I went back with the One4All marker, cleaned up that line, and what happened is a little bit of that color bled over, but you still have the sharp line, and it just gives a little bit more depth to the image. Okay, so you know, I've already did the drawings. I didn't want to get into too much detail as far as the drawing itself, but I just wanted to really highlight these markers. For example, on this hat, I had used the One4All, the 127 2mm, and then the 127 1.5mm marker. So what I did initially was I drew it in with this color, and you know, just kind of built up some layers. And the one thing you want to do when you're using a paint pen over another color, don't really like dig in and really push hard. What you're going to do is you are going to affect what's underneath it. What you want to do is just slightly drag it over the other color, and then what it does is it builds up the layers nice and evenly. For example, seeing the hat right here, it might be, I don't know if this camera does close up, but I did my first layer, and you know, yellows, yeah, you sometimes need to do a couple layers of yellow to make sure it's nice and opaque, especially if you're going over a really dark color like this green. But you know, if you just lightly drag it, you get a much better line. It's very much like using spray paint. You want to do light coats multiple times as opposed to one thick gloopy coat. And I know a lot of you get impatient, but patience is a virtue. And I think it's best to take your time and do your artwork right for your people. Usually what I do with a piece is I'll fill it in with a graphic marker, an alcohol-based marker, like I was saying before. You know, use those transparencies and really get the layers built up, and then you go back and you outline it and do all the other detail work with the paint pen. The paint pen provides a nice opaque, clean line. So you're gonna get your opaque, clean lines with these, and then you're gonna get your nice, soft blending with these. Does that make sense? But with that, you have a really nice kit of tools to use and to create your artwork with. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Just kind of like a little primer on these markers. You know, go ahead and leave some questions in the comments if you want me to highlight anything else. You know, it's kind of a little ad hoc, off the cuff video here. So if there's anything I missed that you have questions about, just hit it up in the comments, and I'll address it in a later video. Anyways, peace out.